Hi, now we'll go on with our lesson, and in this video we'll discuss the relationship between upthrust, weight, this is weight in air, and the apparent weight, and this is apparent weight. So Archimedes, after completing the task given by the king, he went on to start the behavior of different insoluble salts when they are immersed in fluid or in liquid. Remember, insoluble salts are those salts which, when they are immersed in the fluid or in liquid, they don't dissolve completely. For instance, the piece of the stone. So he observed the following. He recorded by using the spring balance. He took the spring balance. Then he actually recorded the weight, the real weight of this stone when it is in air. And this is called weight in air, which is the real weight of the object. Sometimes it is called real weight. And this was the first part of his experiment. And in the second part of his experiment, he took the same stone and the same spring balance. He measured the weight of this stone when now it is completely immersed in the fluid or in the liquid. So he noted out the results in all his experiments. So in the first part of his experiment, he found that the weight in air, or the real weight of that stone, it was actually basically found to be large than when the same stone was placed in water. So for instance, he obtained that weight in air is 20 Newton, and he recorded the same weight of this stone when it is placed in water. He observed that the weight now decreases. The weight in water decreases from 20 up to a certain value, let's say 18 Newton. So he thought that what makes this weight to decrease? Once I record the real weight, it is large. But when the same object is placed in water, basically its weight decreases. He thought, but he concluded that, of course, there is an upward force. That so long as you put this stone inside the water, there is an upward force which acts on this object when that object is totally or partially immersed in the fluid. So that force is called buoyancy force. This is called buoyancy force. Or sometimes it is called upthrust force. This is upthrust. So basically, what is buoyancy force? This is an upward force exerted by the object when it is totally or partially immersed in the liquid or in the fluid. That's why the weight decreases from 20 to 18 Newton. So now we can calculate that magnitude of force which makes the weight to decrease from 20 to 18. He can now take the upthrust. Upthrust can be now obtained by taking the difference between the weight in air and weight in water. So we can take now weight in air minus weight, this is weight in water. So for that case, you can take 20 Newton minus 18 Newton, and the answer now can be 2 Newton. So he realized that wherever you take an insoluble salt, you immerse it inside the water. Of course, there is two forces which act on it. Let's say this is water, and this is the piece of the stone which is immersed inside this water. There is actually the force which acts upward. This is called upthrust force or buoyancy force. But also there is another force which acts in the downward direction towards the center of the earth. This is gravitational force. So that's why when he puts this piece of stone inside the water, the weight tends to decrease. He also found that this loss in weight, when the body is totally or partially immersed in the liquid, it is not actually the actual loss, but it is the apparent loss in weight. So the apparent loss in weight, it results when actually the body is totally or partially immersed in the liquid. And it can also be calculated by the same way, by taking the difference between the weight in air. We take the weight in air, we minus the weight in water. That loss in weight. So similarly, the answer also here can be 20 Newton minus 18 Newton. The loss now here is 2 Newton. So now we can conclude by saying that basically the upthrust, which is one of the upward force exerted by the body when it is totally or partially immersed in the fluid, is the same as the apparent loss in weight. So upthrust is equal to the apparent loss in weight. This is what we can conclude. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next video.